Okay, let's talk about the top 5 skills that you need to ace your technical interview. So skill number 1 is not a technical skill, and it is communication. Communication is the biggest skill that interviewers are probably looking for. One of the biggest, let me say that, because I know people in the comments are gonna be like, oh, it's not the biggest. It's one of the biggest. How you communicate is extremely important. And I know that it can be really tricky for people who are conducting interviews in a second or third language. For me as a native English speaker, these interviews are a lot easier. But if you are speaking English as a second language, I am sure that this is extremely nerve-wracking for you. And there are a couple tips that I can give you to speak a little bit more eloquently in your interviews. I highly recommend rehearsing your answers ahead of time. Write them down. I don't care if you are a native English speaker or a non-native English speaker. Write down your answers to common questions like, tell me about a time that a project you were working on failed and what did you learn from that? Or tell me about a time that you had a conflict with another team member and how you resolved it. Write down your answers, rehearse them ahead of time, and then when you are delivering your answer, try not to sound rehearsed, but at least having responses to these questions are going to go a long way towards showing an interviewer that you have thought about these answers and you're really good at expressing yourself. Communication is also really important when problem solving, which is skill number 2. Problem solving is, yeah, it's a really important skill. You need it. It's one that I struggle with personally. If you are asked a coding challenge question and you have zero idea where to start, just walk through the problem solving steps that I have talked about before. So the first is to repeat the question back to the interviewer and make sure that you understand what they are asking you to do. The second point is going to be list all of the pieces of information that you do know that you need to solve the problem, and also list all the information that you don't know that you need to solve the problem. And from there, you can kind of work your way through it a little bit. A lot of these questions are left intentionally vague so that the interviewer can see if you're able to identify the missing pieces and also ask questions. They want you to ask questions. It's a really important part. So making sure that you communicate. If you don't know the answer to something, tell them. We would much rather you say, I'm not extremely sure of this answer, but if I had to guess, this is what I would say. That is a great answer. It's so much better than bullshitting your way through a question. Don't do that. If you're not sure which solution to work on and you have multiple floating around your head, just tell your interviewer, say, hey, here are the options that I'm looking at. I'm going to start with option A. Although I know it's an iterative solution and it's probably not the most performant solution, I will come back at a later time to refactor this and make it more performant. They will love that. They will love that you're thinking about performance, but they'll also love that you're thinking about all these different solutions that you could possibly create. Skill number 3 that you need to be successful in a technical interview is, unfortunately, data structures. Yes, data structures. I get anxiety when I think about all these different types of data structures, particularly linked lists and graphs. They just, I don't know, they don't work well with my brain. But stacks, queues, linked lists, graphs, trees. Tries is another one. Tries is a type of tree structure that you can use with characters to string match different phrases. Oh, if you're given this really long string, tell me if the substring exists within it. Try is a really great data structure for that. But unfortunately, you do need to know data structures if you're going to pass a technical interview. I always recommend focusing on stacks. What are the other ones? Graphs, trees, maybe not graphs. I haven't been asked a ton of graph questions. I have once, but mostly stacks, sometimes a queue. I have never really been asked about linked lists, I don't think, but then again, you never know. It's kind of like a black box. You're not really sure what you're going to get walking into that interview. So at a high level, be familiar with all of these different data structures. I know it sucks, but it's the best way to feel prepared. Skill number 4 that you need, unfortunately, goes hand in hand with data structures, and that is algorithms. You're going to need to know some algorithms, but that being said, you don't need to know all of them, in my opinion. I would say pick the most efficient algorithm for each different data structure. So for example, if you've got an array of different integers that you need to sort, I would recommend learning a divide and conquer algorithm like merge sort or quick sort that runs at an O of n log n time complexity, as opposed to bubble sort, which could potentially be O of n squared. So I'd recommend learning like the most performant type of algorithm. If you're looking for like binary tree traversal, like in order, post order, or just tree traversal, because binary tree is a tree. So I'd recommend learning like 1 or max 2 algorithms for each data structure, or at least understand how to traverse these different structures efficiently to get the pieces of information that you need. And the 5th and final skill I believe that you need to ace your technical interview is empathy. You might not have heard that before, but the reality of it is that we build software for people. We don't build software for computers, most likely. And when we're working with people, it's all about empathy and being able to understand the issue that your user is trying to solve by using your software. So everyone, regardless of circumstance, should be able to use your software. So accessibility is definitely a skill that you need walking into a technical interview. You need to understand accessibility, especially if you are applying for a front-end developer role. I also always encourage front-end developers to learn about user experience, because a lot of design feeds into what we do as front-end engineers. So learn about how your users interact and flow through your application, and making sure that they have all the information they need at every stage of the process to complete their tasks. So if you work on these 5 skills, I guarantee you will walk into your next technical interview with a lot more confidence. And if you're interested in learning more about systems design, algorithms, data structures, I just republished my new book called Decoding the Technical Interview Process. I'll link it in the notes below, but you can go to technicalinterviews.dev to purchase it. I do have a purchase parity. So depending upon where you're located in the world, it should give you a special price to help offset some of the inflation costs of being like a US market book. And you don't miss out on any features. You get all the features, even with your discount. So if you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment. With that, I hope you all have a great day.